Hi, it's Nancy, the nurse practitioner here from Caregiver Success. I'm glad you're joining us today, everyone. So I have a special guest today, Connor May. He is the owner and CEO of a company called Seniors Helping Seniors. And so, Connor, thank you for coming on with me on my channel, and please tell us what's it all about.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Nancy, for having me. Yes, Seniors Helping Seniors, we're a non-medical senior care business. And so what does non-medical senior care business mean? It means that we offer services such as companionship, light housekeeping, preparing meals for people, transportation, so getting people to or from the doctor's appointment, getting them to get their hair done, to the grocery store, all sorts of different activities and outings. We also do assistance with personal hygiene, so that means like toileting or in the shower. And we have a wide variety of clients, some of whom are, you know, they're a little lonely. Their spouse passed a couple of years ago. Mom's not the same since dad passed away, or dad misses all of his buddies. They all moved to Florida, etc. And we've even had some ALS clients, some cancer patients, some hospice, like assisting hospice clients at the end of their life as well.
Oh, wow,
Um,
that's a big area of people.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, right.
Didn't realize that. Mhm.
Yeah, and so the main difference with Seniors Helping Seniors with versus other agencies is that we only hire active seniors as our caregivers,
Right.
right? So I have people from their 40s up until I have two 82-year-olds. People get into the caregiving industry because they're, compassionate and empathetic, but sometimes life gets in the way when you're 25 or 30. You have your kids, you're working two jobs, whatever the situation might be. My caregivers are a lot more settled in their life. They're a lot more reliable people. They're
Well,
not.
they're seniors too. We're
Yeah,
talking about,
exactly. And
well, we
and
talk about the
the
baby boomers. I know, and I'll just
yeah.
interject. We're going to say a couple statistics, right? You're going to tell about loneliness, and I'll say that the baby boomers, just for those of you who don't know, if you've been born between 1948 and 1964, you are considered a baby boomer. And there is 10,000 of us a day turning 65 until the year 2030, which I've been saying this whole hype for the last 15 years, and now we're almost there,
Yeah.
which means the tsunami is very, we are going to hit this plateau of an explosion, needing everything for people over 60.
And
Um,
that's great for
so
both caregivers and for clients. Supply side for me and on the demand side, right? As people age, the average client is probably early to mid 80s, and they're being supported by someone that's 15, 20 years younger than them, right? And think about it, a lot of, if you're aging as a couple, someone is usually, there's one that's a caregiver, and they're good up until they're like mid 70s, and then they need some support as well, right?
it's
Because
interesting you mentioned this. I just got a call today from a woman who, because I'm dealing with Wheel It Forward, which is a not-for-profit for DME equipment in Connecticut, and that's where Connor is located right now. I know there are other seniors helping seniors across America, but
yeah.
we're talking about his wonderful business here. But she called me because she needs some supplies, but she says, I live alone.
Mhm.
I'm 80 years old. My son works. I thought about you. I thought about somebody to do the wound care, and I
Yeah,
thought about somebody to get her groceries.
yeah.
And so, you could have like somebody doing the wound care, which would be somebody skilled, or
Yeah.
maybe, but all the other things, her son can't do that. And that's where you would come in, just even if it's for a piece of time until she's back on her feet, right? You could be temporary, not permanent.
Absolutely. Like we have some shorter duration cases, like when people have a joint replacement surgery, and we come and
Right.
support them for a long weekend. Sometimes it's a couple of weeks, and then they're back on their own. Right. I
Do you
had
stay overnight or?
we have
Oh.
as short as 4 hours a shift, and we have 24/7 clients.
I like that because, for somebody like her, as long as they're able-bodied and
Yep.
she just needs a little help because
Yep.
she's alert,
Yep.
she would probably love more of a senior than a 20-year-old nurse. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
just saying,
Yeah,
I would.
a a lot of people are
the
very
win.
reluctant to accept care because they
Yeah.
think that their independence is being taken away from them.
Yeah.
What I try to reframe it for the clients and for the family as well, that we're doing our best to allow them to stay in their home as long as possible, as long as it's safe. And all those conditions are necessary to be met, right? And this is about allowing people to regain some of the independence and freedom that they had, right? Some of these people no longer are able to drive. They advise them not to drive anymore,
Mhm.
or, having someone who kind of is generationally similar to them, to give them a ride to the senior center, to give them a ride to the grocery store, to give them a ride to their doctor's appointments.
Exactly. You mentioned to me in the past about team-based scheduling. Can you tell us
Mhm.
what that is?
Sure. So if we have a client that is 40 hours a week, I don't just say, "Oh, perfect, one caregiver done," right?
Yeah.
That takes care of that 40 hours. What I try to do is I'll have 2 to 3 caregivers with that client. So that way, if caregiver A is sick, she has the flu, caregiver B has a family emergency, caregiver C wants to go on vacation with her grandkids or whatever, or his or her grandkids, whatever the situation might be, then there's a built-in uh, care network.
Yeah, there's a backup
It's
plan.
like one of the things that's very chronic in the industry is turnover. It's incredibly high. So I think it was stat was in 2023, the turnover rate was 79.4%. So if I hire 5 people on January 1st,
Mm.
by December 31st, I only have one of them left. And that occurs throughout the year,
So
right?
you're
So
always recruiting
all well
or
at the typical agency, right?
mm.
So I got into this to help people,
Hmm.
not to be in HR, right? So if I don't do anything differently than every other person,
Hmm.
I'm going to be an HR business, not a senior care business, right?
Right.
So that's what you're really doing if you're just constantly replacing people, and so
Mm.
it's disruptive to the business, it's
Hmm.
disruptive to caregivers, right? Because they're constantly reassigned. But
Right.
think about the family and of the 85-year-old who's they may be sitting alone in their chair, or even worse if they're laying in a hospital bed in the middle of their living room, and there's a different person coming through every day. They never know who's going to come through the door.
Yeah.
That is so scary and
Stressful.
unsettling, right? That's not helping people. That's putting them in a worse position. Like, in our goal is, like I said, is to help people stay at home and or wherever they're living. Some people are at their family house that they lived in for 60 years. Some people are in the condo that they downsized to. We have clients in assisted living.
So
Sometimes,
how do you prevent the turnover rate if people
but yeah,
get in the
so
way?
one thing I do is I do all of the orientations myself. So
Hmm.
I consider, like, it's an extended interview. I'm in a room with, sometimes it's 2 or 3 people, sometimes it's one-on-one, for an hour and a half to 2 hours. And I'm getting the question that's running through my mind constantly is this a person that I would send in to my own mother's house? And if
Yeah.
the answer is no,
Good
then
question.
you thank them for their time and you move on, right? So during that interview, or that extended interview orientation, I tell them how I would like my caregivers treated, what the values of the firm are, what the do's and don'ts are,
Hmm.
and also let them know that they are the assets of the firm.
Yeah.
Caregivers are the assets of the firm, full stop, right? Like, I don't have a plant, I don't have a manufacturing facility
Right.
set,
Yeah.
and the goodwill that I built up, right?
I think
Those are
it
the
is.
only two things that I have.
I agree with you on that. If people can say that they feel like this is their business,
Yeah.
well, without getting too, into the weeds, but just saying, if I own this business, wouldn't I like a person like me to go
Mm-hmm.
and take care of this person that needed
Yeah.
help? And
Yeah.
the main thing, everyone, I definitely want to emphasize that we've had talked about this before about compassion and empathy. A lot of people go into healthcare and they go in for the money, but they don't, and it's not a good reason, because you could have empathy where you say, wow, that poor young girl has cancer. I really feel bad for her. But compassion means you do something to make her comfortable, help her with her pain, brighten her day. And that's compassion. So people have to have both empathy and compassion in order to be good caregivers. And
Yep.
once you burn out or you just feel like my heart's not in it, you better like stage left, just get out.
Compassion and empathy, because that's I constantly say those are the two things that I recruit for. You have it or you don't, and some
Right.
people just don't have it. And one thing in terms of burnout that we found is that like I'll see people that are retired nurses, and they're like, "Oh, I want to give back," and then
Yeah.
when push comes to shove, a lot of them are like, "Ugh, I just can't go back to it." Right?
Yeah.
They gave so much
Yeah.
for 30, 40 years of their life.
Mhm.
I do have some retired nurses who are phenomenal caregivers, and they just want like that one-on-one thing. They
Mhm.
want something very low key. They don't want anything high acuity. They
Yeah.
just want
Not a lot of stress, not a lot
a
of
lot of
stuff.
stress. Like, okay, we're gonna
Yeah.
go for a coffee, or like we're going to
Yeah.
the diner for lunch.
So they could find some other way of
Yeah.
giving back. So you got into this business because you saw that this was your father was ill and you were like, wow, I think we can find a good caregiving out there. Is that what kind of happened for your
So
father?
I had a 23-year career on Wall Street, and it was a great career. I was head of trading at a hedge fund, and it was very successful and very stimulating, like intellectually, very fast paced, high energy. But at
Yeah.
the end of every day, it was, is what more? What else?
Yeah. What
Uh,
am I missing? Like
yeah,
what?
yeah, what it was, there was like a hole, right?
Yeah.
So my
Mhm.
dad got sick in 2022. He had end stage kidney failure,
Mhm.
and he was in the hospital for 10 days during the COVID outbreak in Florida. Nobody could see him. I was finally able to go see him after the end of that period. And it was apparent that the end was approaching. So they discharged him with in-home hospice, and he was in a hospital bed in the middle of my parents' living room.
Yeah.
Had so you get hospice. I was like, oh, we're going to get all these services. That's not really. We got a nurse
Mm-hmm.
once or twice a week. We got
Right.
OT, PT.
Right. You're
Um,
it. You're the
that's
other 23
yeah,
hours a day.
yeah, exactly. So my mom, like, they gave us a recommendation for a couple of agencies.
Right.
My mom settled on one, didn't know anything about it at the time. And we had one caregiver 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every 7 days a week. So there were two people, and one of them was amazing. She was compassionate and empathetic and was was nice, but she was distracted.
Yeah. And how can people get involved?
Sure. So we're always hiring. One of the great things that we do is we do a lot of outreach at senior centers. So that when I first got involved with seniors helping seniors, I was like, oh, senior centers, that's where I'm going to find all my clients. That's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
That's where people who are able-bodied and who are active
Yes.
go to hang out. That's where they meet their friends, and
Yeah.
they
They don't
they have
need help.
lunch. They have lunch there, and they play cards. Or in Newtown, where you're from, they have a sewing room. They have
Yeah, they
a
have all
pool.
that
They have
great
a
stuff.
pool room,
Yeah.
and like men, like a lot of senior centers, that it's 85% female to
Yes.
15% male. In Newtown, there's a lot more men because they have that pool room. Client requires that,
Right.
um, and not every caregiver is willing to provide that. I have some caregivers who work 8, 10 hours a week, and I have some caregivers who work 60 hours a week. Right,
Wow.
so
Yeah.
just like we have a wide spread of clients, we have a wide spread of caregivers, and my
Yep.
job is to take caregivers, learn about who they need to match caregivers with clients. It's
Yes,
not
true.
just like hey, there's a warm body or there's a hole in the schedule. Who's available?
Yeah, you want somebody to meet up and actually get along with each other. Can you
Absolutely.
tell us the statistics? Can you tell us this? Oh my. Can you tell us about loneliness?
Impact of loneliness and social isolation. Um, the impact in terms of health of chronic loneliness is the same as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, which
Mhm.
is incredible, right? It's startling, and it's
Yeah.
worse than having 4 or 5 drinks a day, worse than like recreational drugs,
Mhm.
um, and this impacts people in every demographic, whether they're like a shut-in, for lack of a better word. Um, but
Maybe it goes that way too, because she'll know dad's lonely and only
yeah,
counts on as me, and I can't be the only person.
yeah, that's like 75% of my inbound calls are from the middle-aged children.
Okay,
Some of them live
good.
in the same town, but they have their own family. They have 3 kids of their own. They have a job.
So
They have
they're interested in somebody as a companion more than,
yeah, well,
or in
depending on what
addition
this
to
the
errand
condition.
running. Yeah,
Yeah,
gotcha.
exactly. But then
Okay.
I also have people who call from California or Florida or
Yeah.
North Carolina
Yeah.
and say, hey, like my loved one is alone. Like they don't have any family left anymore. They have lots of friends, but they need assistance.
And can you imagine how great that feels, everyone, if you have somebody you know is in the house with your mom or dad or sister who's disabled or whatever, or needs a little help, that you know there's somebody there and you can actually kind of breathe, peacefully and sleep at night,
Yeah,
knowing you got an insurance plan on the back end,
yeah.
personal insurance. Thank you for being on I was gonna say being on my show, being on my YouTube channel. Caregiver Success. Please check out my YouTube videos, everyone, and I'll send you all the information for Connor. And good luck with everything, Connor. You're doing a great job and
Thank you,
it's
Nancy.
a
I really
great,
appreciate your time and a
great
quick
business.
plug for your book. It's a great resource to
Well,
have.
thank
Like I
you.
have it on my bookshelf. And if someone calls and has a question I don't know the answer to, it's one of the things that I check.
Hey, I'm hoping that I wrote a book, everyone. Just going to put a plug in called Caregiver Success Tips and Tools. And it's like a 400-page book. It's like Mom Moves In, but she doesn't come with instructions. I mean, I just thought about that. And not to be funny, but we don't know what we don't know. So it's a tool book.
Yeah.
It's helping Connor. I'm hoping everybody will have one in their home in America so they can at least say, darn, I got constipation. How do I get rid of this? Oh, I put up a bowel chart. I keep track of it. When do I take milk of magnesia? When do I call the ER? It's like how to prevent medical crisis. And
Yeah. It was like a Dr. Google before Dr. Google.
yeah, Doctor, this is not the Dr. Google. This is like, let's go ask Nancy. Yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
thanks so much, Connor. It's great talking with you. Talk to you
Thank,
soon.
Take
Thanks,
care. Thanks,
everyone.
Nancy.
See you on my next video. Bye for now.